just before we get to the forum, there's something I need to do. There's some people that's been very instrumental in helping our community and helping our food bank. And we do want to honor them just before we get to our community forum. So I'm so glad you're here, and I welcome you, and I thank you for coming. I thank you, Dave, because I know it's a sacrifice for you, but we thank you for being with us. And everyone, we're so happy to have you, and all the pastors. Let's give all the pastors a hand. So just before we start, I'm going to ask Lily Lehman if she would come forward. I'd like to present this to Lily as a certificate of appreciation. She's been with the food bank 37 years. Let's give her a God bless you. And she's making a difference as a volunteer. And Lily, we appreciate you so much.
Thanks.
God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, here's the lady that really should be thanked.
No.
Yes. Yes, she's the one with the kind heart and the boundless energy. Thank you, Alma.
Oh, thank you, sweetie. And we're going to ask Mr. Hardy. He's from South Park Lions Club. And I tell you what, once a year, they do a drive for our food bank. And it's been such a blessing for years. So we'll ask that you will come. And let's give him a round of applause. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. God bless. Give him another hand. And once a year, South Park Middle School have a drive for us. Enough food for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And we want to thank, he's not ashamed to roll his sleeves up. He unloaded and moved the food, and we're just so grateful for him, not only him, for the staff and the students. So on behalf of Shiloh Food Bank and the community, we want to present this to you, and thank you so much. You're making a difference in feeding the hungry. Thank you so much. Thank you. And last but not least, Dr. Ronald Barone. Now let me tell you about him. He's a retired surgeon, UPMC, and he had a garden. That's what all the vegetables come to all these churches. He grew cucumbers, all types of vegetables. And we're expanding because we're also giving to Section 8 apartment buildings, thanks to him. So we're so grateful. So we'll ask that Dr. Barone, let's give him a God bless you. Now that's what you mean, giving back to the community. That's what this means. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. God bless.
Thank you very much.
Give him another hand. A surgeon for years. Praise God. Now that's wonderful. Now, and another person that's in the community has just been such a blessing to our church and to me and helping us. And she considered helping people. And I want her to stand. Ruth, will you just stand and sit down? Just stand and sit down. Put your hand up there. So we thank Ruth for her work. And all of you, we just appreciate you so much. At this time, we're going to ask everybody to stand. We're going to do the Lord's Prayer, and then we're going to turn it over to our moderator, who is Pastor Javan Gilliam, the pastor of this church. Let's repeat the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Now we'll ask Pastor Javan Gilliam, who is a man that fears God and loves God, and love the people. That's important, and loving the people. So let's stand up and give him a God bless you as he comes.
No.
Yeah.
Please be seated. Yeah. So I want to welcome you all this afternoon, I guess it is now, to our community forum. It's a awesome opportunity for you guys to come and be willing to listen to what the community has to say, some concerns, and to have an open ear. I think one of the problems with our society is we don't communicate enough. You know, everybody kind of builds up their own walls and they stay in their own little silo, and we don't get out and talk about issues. We let things just develop and we form our own opinions on our little circle and what we believe. So it's important that when we have these opportunities to come out and to voice our concerns and have people to listen, that it helps to help progress to happen. So whether we get an answer today or whether we begin the dialogue towards getting an answer, it's a beautiful thing and a great opportunity. So I thank the panelists and I thank you all for coming so we can start this process of trying to get better as a society. You know, the society's in a tough place right now, and we need some answers. We believe that God provides those answers to us. But again, it takes us to be willing to communicate and talk to each other. So some of the kind of the guidelines or what we want to anticipate happening today is I'll have the panelists introduce themselves in a moment, but ask questions of the panelists. This is your opportunity for any issues. Some might be able to answer one. There might be a couple on the panel that can answer your question or your concern. But now is the time to get those questions out there. And again, hopefully we can get some dialogue to begin to get some solutions or some resolution to some of the things we're seeing in the community. So thank you all for coming. On behalf of Shiloh, we welcome you and thanks again. So for panelists, you can start to my right here. If you could just stand up, introduce yourself and kind of what your office is from, and we'll go down the line. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. My name is Kevin Monahan. I'm the middle school principal here in South Park. This is my 15th year in this community, and I do have to say that we're very blessed to live in the South Park community, and I'm very thankful to be a part of it. Thank you for having me today.
Hi, I'm Councilwoman Sue Means. I represent Upper St. Clair, Mount Lebanon, Bridgeville, and Bethel Park. Your county council person that represents South Park is not here. He's a barber. It's Sean Palmieri, and so he's cutting hair on Saturdays. But I'm happy to be here. I've served for 6 years on county council, and this is like my third or fourth time to be at this event, and I love helping people. My background is in nursing, so I truly care, so I'm happy to be here today.
Hi, my name is Dave Bukowitz. I'm a township supervisor in South Park, and one of our goals in South Park is to make sure our community is safe and that we're doing things to make sure the residents and the people are being serviced, and we do our best to do that. We advertise every time in the Park News. If you see something, call us. Let us know about it, okay? Because our police chief is happy to accept calls. Karen Fosbaugh, our manager, is happy to accept calls because we want to make sure this community stays safe and it's a good place to live. So thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Karen Fosbaugh. I'm South Park Township's manager. I've been the manager for 11 years. I've been with the township for many more years, but I won't say how many. I serve as kind of like the liaison between our residents and our elected officials. Our door is always open. Anytime you have a problem, and many of you have, you've called, I'm willing to help anyone, to assist anyone with any problem you may have in our community. I'm a lifelong resident. I live here now, so I'm well acquainted with our strengths. So thank you for having me.
Chief Dennis McDonough, South Park Township, police officer, 46 years. I don't mind saying the word all, 46 township. Chief of police for the last 6. Like David said, our doors always open. Call my office, email. Everybody has my email. I put a time on every day. Just ring me Good afternoon. I'm Jack Allen. I'm the mayor of Bethel Park. I've been the mayor for 6 years now. I want to thank Dave Cable for filming this because we'll go on our BPTV and it'll run on a regular basis. So thank him for doing that, and I'm looking forward to taking back any information that you have for us. So thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dan Allwine. I am State Senator Pam Iovino's Chief of Staff. She's sorry she couldn't be here today. We actually have a shredding event in West Mifflin that's going on. Pam was recently sworn in April of this year. Our district goes from this corner of the county, it includes Peters Township, the whole way to the airport in the Swickley Valley area. Senator Iovino retired from the Navy after 23 years and then received the commission from President Bush to be Assistant Secretary to the Veterans Affairs, representing veterans in the Capitol Hill. Most recently, she was the Director of Veteran Services for Allegheny County. And just like Karen and the mayor said, our doors are always open. We love to hear from constituents. The closest office we have for most of the folks in this room is on Broughton Road in Bethel Park, right at Broughton Road and Library. So looking forward to the discussion, and thanks for having me.
So again, thank you all for coming out, carving out some time this Saturday. So kind of a little bit as we go through this time here, if you have questions, we want to keep it concise. Can you turn me down a little bit? Let's get a little background. We want to keep it concise, so we want everybody to have an opportunity to ask their questions. So we got to be respectful of everybody's time, but we want everyone to have that opportunity. So if you have a question, let's raise your hand. We got a microphone, and we'll give you opportunity to ask that question. And we'll just see what the questions come out and how it leads. So with that, I'll throw it open to the audience. Does anybody have a question? Who wants to be the first one? I know we got a lot of questions, but nobody likes to crack the ice. So who's going to be the first?
This is to the Chief of Police. I live on Edgewood and Wood, and I noticed people are flying up the one-way street, and I would like something done about that. Okay, thank you.
From old traffic, man, I worked 3 years traffic. Take care of that.
I just want to know what the high school is doing about drugs. Just what, do you search lockers? Do you have police there? I think I heard this morning that 68,000 deaths this year alone for drug overdoses, and this is getting really, really serious.
As far as South Park School District, we are very proactive. We have 2 school police officers. We wrote grants for them. One is housed at the high school, as well as there's another one housed at the middle school. And, they've been very instrumental in, the visibility in itself has helped to curb some of the issues that we've been having. We have also relied upon technology. We have sensors that allow, to pick up on whether it's tobacco usage or even, what's coming up now with the Juuls and the vaping and all the, unknowns that we have with that. So yes, we take this very seriously. There is a process that we go through. As a middle school principal, if we get some type of information that somebody has, drugs or weapons or anything like that, we can operate and search lockers. We contact parents. We are allowed to do that. Okay, so we can operate under reasonable suspicion where the police operate on probable cause. So I can search with just someone saying, hey, I believe that this person has done this, or this person has this, or I saw this. So yes, we take it very seriously. And all the administrators, the teachers, and even the students, we tell them, just like Mr. Bukowitz said, You know, if there is something to report, we get it out there all the time so that we are aware. Because if we don't know something, if the community knows something, please call the schools. Let us know, whether it even be a bullying situation, but we just have to know about it, because sometimes things get hidden. People are afraid to speak up and say things because I don't want my child to, you know, have any ramifications for maybe reporting things. Listen, our job is to keep our kids safe. That is our #1 priority in our school districts. Safety first, okay? If you don't have safety, you can't educate. All right, so please report anything like that, and we will take care of things, okay?
Please stand if you have a question. Well, I don't have a question, but I've got something I want to say.
Okay.
My name is Walter Jackson. I'm from Bethel Park, and I'm right here from South Park, and they know me up there. You know, I feel like I'm at a Klan rally sometimes because nobody up there looks like me. And you the principal of the school out there?
Yes, sir.
How many blacks we got out there?
Probably about 5%.
5%. That don't tell me much, does it? David Duke once said, take off the hoods and the sheets and put on a suit and a tie. David Duke, head of the Klan. What I'm trying to say is I got some property here that I tried to get some help from. I can't get to it. The township won't do nothing. You don't have nothing to do with it. They do. Okay. So I've asked them to help me and they wouldn't. And I just ain't, I'm no Uncle Tom. I don't beg nobody for no help. See, I asked you. And so far I got nothing.
What you asked for, sir?
I asked for the alley up there to be fixed. There was a piece of property up there I tried to buy for 50 years, and they know all about it. I mean, it's all on record. You
Okay.
send somebody up, not one of the people that represent us here in South Park have I ever seen come up here and talk to anybody. You hire people to come up there and do your bid. I just don't think it's right.
Okay.
So
Well,
I thank you for
maybe
your
you can
time.
talk about that in like a separate forum or different situation.
No, bro, I've tried it in separate form. These people don't, that's what I say. I feel like I'm at a Klan meeting.
Yeah, no, that's not what
They
this is
Klan,
about.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, nah, it's not a Klan meeting. We're trying to just have open dialogue in the community. Sounds like maybe an individual issue, and you can talk to them about that. You can go up there and talk to them directly about that individually. But this isn't the right forum for that. Thanks.
What is the right form? You said?
Individually, you go up to the municipal office, and you can talk to them. Thank you.
Hello, I would like to say, I would like to see a little bit more representation of different nationalities and of course different races on our panel. That would be helpful for us. It's always good to feel represented. But I would like to say, first of all, I'd like to applaud that the last forum I was here, they asked for cameras at this playground down here, and it has been effective. We still, of course, have drug activity, but I've been informed it's been moved so the children can at least play on the playground. I would like to make that same request over on Overhill. There's a playground over there, and I have been informed by some of the people that reside in that area that there is drug activity on that playground. And since it was successful over here, perhaps it will be successful over there at that playground, that the children would be able to play. And my other, I guess it's a comment, is how can we as churches interact with our community that would help you as well as us? If you have any ideas of how we can do that, what would be required of us? What could we attend to help our community address some of these matters that are concerned of ours? Thank you.
I'd like to excuse me, I'd like to respond to that, please. We have a township meeting the second Monday of every month at 7 o'clock. At that time, there's an open forum section called Call on the People. At that time, anyone is free to speak, ask a question, present a concern, ask for some type of assistance with a problem, whatever the case may be. So if you do have problems, you do have issues, you're more than welcome to come to our public meeting. And also, as all of us had indicated from the township, you're free to call every day. We're there 9 to 5. I'm there early in the morning, I'm there after 5. Any questions or comments that you have, you just call the main number, which is 412-831-7000, and you will be directed to the appropriate person.
Just while she's taking the mic over, follow up kind of to what she was saying. So is there anything that you guys, from your perspective, thinks the church can do more of or do a better job at? As a pastor, I would like to know that and try to provide that. If there's something you guys maybe can think of or you have thoughts around that.
I have a couple of suggestions, assuming. So if I could have contact information for churches, or they would contact me, and I would be happy. Let's say we're going to have a job fair, or maybe we're going to have talk about drugs in the neighborhood. Then that way I can communicate with you, because maybe we put something in the newspaper, but you didn't get the newspaper that day. So if I could have a direct line of communication.
Okay.
The other thing you can do, everybody can sign up on the county website and be given notification of events happening. But I think lines of communication, because if when I know there's a fair or something, I'd be happy to send an email out to everyone and let them know it's happening. I also want to speak a little bit about the drugs. There has been a great decline in the overdose in the county, and I think that is partly because the former director of public health did something very forward-thinking. So what she did was she got the ability for anyone to get a prescription of Narcan. So you can go anywhere in a pharmacy in Allegheny County and get a prescription for Narcan. So if you have a loved one or someone in your family you think might be using drugs, so that you can be ready in case they need assistance. Also, the governor, we went first, and then the governor did something similar. We have gotten a lot of money to get Narcan into the hands of first responders, even into libraries and places where, an incident might occur. Again, I think, just communication, just talk to me, and like Karen said, call us, ask for help. But it would help me to know what churches want information, and I'd be happy to feed the information to them. Thank you.
And I love that. We want to try to engage as many stakeholders in this community in our school system. So I'm asking you, I love it when people reach out to us. Sometimes it's difficult for us to reach out, to the various groups. But if you ever have concerns, or if there is something that you can offer, or if there is something that you just want to talk about, our doors are open. We try to get at least a 24-hour turnaround. Most of the time we respond right away to emails or phone calls. But if there is anything that this community can offer to help us in our schools with our children, we welcome that. So please, reach out to us. I'm always willing to meet with people. We work, we were talking about how certain organizations, and, we are very, very blessed to have Melting Pot, at our school to work with, our students in need. And, I think it's a worthwhile program, and it's something that we need more of in this community. All right, in a time when it seems like people are losing touch with one another, as she stated, the communication is lacking. And the more that we're on these electronic devices and all about our own selves, I said this is where we need to engage face-to-face with people. That is the only way that we're going to get anything done as a community, all right? Years ago, there used to be a sense of community because people would get together, they would have dinners together. Times have changed. So now we need to make the effort. We need to be proactive, and we need to take the steps. We can't wait for John or George or Michelle or to take that step. We need to be the hands and feet. We need to go forward, and we need to communicate. Okay. So I welcome your communication.
How many of you know Heather Norville? Do you know Heather? Okay, Heather, I've got her involved with our process in South Park. And if you're ever embarrassed to talk about some issue, get to Heather and have Heather get a hold of me. Okay, because sometimes people don't want to bring things up. public area. But get to Heather, Heather will get to me, and we'll contact and do what we can to take care of the issue. And sometimes we cannot spend South Park tax dollars on a state problem or a county problem, okay? So sometimes a road is involved, it's a state road, and it looks like it's South Park Townships. All we can do is report, but we can't spend our money to go and fix that problem on that particular road. So, but anyway, keep Heather in mind, okay?
Now, let me just say, you had mentioned how the churches could be involved. We had, and I'm thinking it's probably at least a year ago, we had a forum up at the Bethel Park Community Center, and it was attended by mostly churches, the EMS, the police departments were there. It was on opioids and Narcan and what have you. And it's great to have forums, but some of the churches said, we do this, EMS says, we do this, and everyone has lists, but the problem is the follow through. So we can meet, you know, on that crisis, we can meet here today, but unless there's follow through, we'll be here another year from now and basically talking about the same questions.
Amen.
So, you know, that's what it's all about. If anyone was here or from one of the churches, it was a very good meeting, but thinking back on it, I'm not so sure anything really came out of it in the long run. Short run, absolutely. But we would like to get more involved. And we do reach out to the different churches in Bethel Park. So it's just the follow through is what we need to really make it work.
Okay.
Another thing, we have, a township has offered to our lawmakers, the representatives, the senators, congressmen, to have space in our township building. So Mr. Courts and Mr. Puxkarik has accepted that offer, and they are in a township one day a month. So if you want to talk to a representative, okay, they are there one day a month. So you have to call and make an appointment, and you can go in and see them. Or just walk in, I guess you can stand there. Pam Iovino, she didn't accept because she's right down the road here. She's real close. Mike Doyle, the Congressman Mike Doyle, he's also down the road here, very close. So their offices are available that you can go and talk to them people and try to get some of your issues taken care of. Because this is what I found out is these issues become very complicated, and then if you have 10 things that are important to you, okay, and you give all 10 of them to a rep or to a senator, okay, all of a sudden it gets convoluted, okay? And the idea is you don't get your main issue across. We had an issue at Allegheny League of Municipalities meeting, okay, and John Fetterman, everybody's nailing all these things. 50 things are wrong, okay? And he said, what is your number one important thing that you want to accomplish? And when you look at a group like that, it's hard because you got 10 or 15 people with all one different idea. It's hard to get that one point across. So be careful and talk to your reps. Come to the township and talk to them. They're there.
Okay. We have a question in the audience?
Yes. Good morning. My question is for the South Park Township. I'd like to hear some update in regards to the summit. I saw the posting of the lowest price, and I have a house on the other hill. And I was also wondering, my question is, will my taxes go up based on the property? What? Oh, taxes. Okay. So part one, I'd like to have an update on the summit plan that's being built across the way. My second question is in regards to my property taxes, because I saw the base price, the low 200s to 300,000 in regards to the property that's going to be sold here. Can I expect an increase on my property taxes based on what's being developed on the Ball Diamond? Yes. Okay, thank you.
I'll answer that for you. I'll give you an update with regard to the project. The project is something that we feel is of great benefit to South Park Township. The first phase that you're seeing right now is the construction of 2 apartment buildings, each with 90 units, a number of townhouses and single-family homes. The second phase is going to involve a retail area that's going to be near Brownsville Road. And the way our township is configured, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of area to expand to provide for additional retail space. Retail meaning stores. And the hope is in that particular phase that we are going to have a grocery store, which is something that's lacking in our community. We've been working with the developer from the very beginning. Concerning your property taxes, when you have that type of development coming in, bringing in that type of tax base, it's a good thing for the township because it brings in additional revenue. So that does not mean that your taxes are going to go up. South Park Township's taxes have not gone up for over 20+ years. In fact, they were reduced. So with additional building coming in, additional assessments on that building, that's only a benefit not only to the township, but to the residents as a whole.
As far as the assessed value, okay, they usually assess properties in areas. Like there might be a road that designates this value of that property. So I don't think, but it'll affect your property, okay, because the value's over here. But the best thing there is call the Allegheny County Assessors Department and ask them for their procedure on how they will assess properties adjacent to that particular development there.
But I will tell you, if you look on the website, whenever we have to look at research properties for various reasons. If you look on the website, there's under the Allegheny County real estate tax portal, there is a tab that is for comparables. And what it is properties that are comparable to that particular property that you brought up on the screen. They're not comparing, say, a house that's worth $150,000 to a house that's worth $350,000. It's in the same range, the same type of home. So they're not going to base any type of assessment for your property on a home that's going to be $200,000 and $300,000 in that development.
And then also, and then on October 15th, they're having an open house on there. I think it was in the Park News, and it'll be down here on October 15th.
Good afternoon. My name is Diane Logan Wells, and my question primarily pertains to the school district. I have a desire in my heart to unite the spiritual aspect of our children, not just on Sundays at church, but also in the school districts. I understand the written law of the separation of state and church. However, I also understand that the school districts must also make way for spiritual/religious clubs and things of that nature. So my question is, what spiritual/religious clubs exist in our school districts today? And then part B is, who may I make contact with that I may work with someone in the administration if my desire is to work with the children to get something in the school district, to use the facilities as well.
Just like anything else, our superintendent, his name is Wayne Godovic, and he is, you can reach out to him anytime. He is very approachable. He'll sit down and have a conversation with you. Just like what you were saying, years ago, we've had campus life here in our schools for students that were interested in campus life. Obviously, that wasn't school-sponsored type of event, but they were a part. And we also had, I think in this area here with Bethel Park and stuff, we had Young Life as well, which is a organization that has, a spiritual background. Before coming to South Park, we used to have student-led prayer meetings in my classroom, first thing in the morning, right? And I'm all about the spiritual aspect because I think that's where our nation is, falling short. We have the opportunities to, with everything that is in the Bible, it teaches us, how we need to be. If we would start following that, we would be in a better place across the board. So regarding that, student-led type of demonstrations, of faith, I don't want to say religion, but faith, I think that's acceptable. It can't be led by anyone here, in, administration or teaching, but it has to be student-led. If there is a way that, we can infuse like an overall like theme where it's not being a, certain type of, faith, religious type aspect, but just, a positive and, very empowering tenet or belief. I think that needs to be in our schools. So all you need to do is just reach out. Like we said, there'll be some things that we can do, and then there'll be some other things that we can't. But like I said, all it takes is you reaching out and, getting in the right ear of somebody. And then obviously, we have to operate, under the laws. And, we are open, to anything like that.
So, what you said is that is there that one scripture there?
Right now, I believe that they're operating here at South Park. They operate off campus.
Oh, okay.
I mean, a lot of these things do operate, off campus, but as far as having a group in school, there is none right now that I am aware of.
Okay. And the principal or the superintendent is indeed the contact?
Yes, I would contact him, or even if you wanted to reach out to me and maybe give me an idea about what you were thinking of, and I could go to him, whoever you feel more comfortable talking to. I mean,
I just need a direction.
Mr. Godovic.
Or yourself.
Our superintendent, or come to Kevin Monahan.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Love the question.
Hi, Mr. Monahan. I wanted to say hello and to say to everyone who's here that you've been one of the most supportive parts of making Melting Pot succeed. And I want to say personally to you that we came to you, 15 years ago to talk? And now I see you making sure those boys that we're concerned about get on that bus. And the bus came from Mr. Godovic, so I'll make sure Diane has his name because he is a great friend to Melting Pot and very concerned about our community. So I wanted to first start by saying thank you because you've been there, and that's what we need. All of you have, but Mr. Monahan has a special place in our heart, so we want to say thank you.
Thank you.
And also our friend Chris DeCovey. So those two men have made it really work. So I want to say that, thank you. But now we're facing a different issue, and that has to do with technology. So one of my problems that I have is that even though I'm 70, I don't know that our moms who are 20 and 30 understand Google Classroom. And so what happens is our children come to us with Chromebooks that their parents are not accessing because they can't monitor them the way they need to be monitored because they're 11, 12, and 13-year-olds who don't want to do anything but play video games. We're finding it difficult to understand, even the teachers who work with us are finding it difficult for the middle schoolers to really show us how. They won't show us how to get on Google Classroom, so of course we can't find the homework that they don't want to do. So what we're asking you, is it true that the Google Classroom is only for students access, or is there a way for people like us who are professional and supportive, but we can't help them because they won't let us on their Chromebook? Do you want to answer that for me?
You have to love kids, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of kids, and they need a lot of help. Yeah.
All right, here's what we're going to do, and I understand what you're saying, and nobody wants to work. No, okay. So what we want to do is we've talked about this as a district, and we would like to have people come in, and we would like to have a night at the middle school. I know that Dr. Furman and I, we've spoken about maybe doing a presentation, with the Google Classroom for parents or people like yourselves where you are working, with these students intimately. And so we need to educate the community on that. Now, I'm going to say, and everybody knows this sometimes, we've had opportunities where we've opened things up for the community to come to learn about various things. And again, the response has been lacking. When we have events and we invite people to come, we're expecting a great turnout. And we end up with maybe 30 people. And it's almost like, if this is important, for your child's growth and development, and I understand people work 100%, but reach out to us, all right? We will try to find times in places. We're not going to say, okay, if you don't make this meeting at 7 o'clock, then you're lost. We need to know where the interest lies. And you need to reach out to us and say, hey, Mr. Monahan, Mr. Godovic, Mr. Palmer, Dr. Furman, we can't make this. Let's schedule some times during the day or when other people are available or when groups are available so that we can do this. Our job just isn't just to educate our children, all right? Our job is to actually engage the community. The school district cannot operate without our community stakeholders, and all of you have something to offer. So when we open up our doors, we want our doors open. We want our community involved in our kids' education and their lives.
But you understand why they don't. See, what I think
Yes.
people don't get, it's not that they don't care.
Yes.
It is there's something adversarial
Mhm.
about school if you've had a traumatic experience yourself.
Yes.
Or perhaps you feel uncomfortable or guilty. We deal with all these parents, and they all work from 3 to 11, and their children are failing. So our position at Melting Pot was to be the mediator, to understand the parent doesn't want to come. But you know that we care, and you care. And let's take the professional position, I'm sorry, the professional position that, okay, mom can't come, won't come, should come, but doesn't come. But meanwhile, Johnny is failing. So what do? We take the in-between. I would like us to be the mediator because I would love for the parents to come. We're working hard on trying to get them to come. It takes chicken dinners just to get them to come. And we're hard working. We're doing everything we can. But meanwhile, Johnny is failing. So we don't want to wait for mom to get it together. Can we simply say, I would happy to send our teachers to that meeting if you can train us.
Or why can't we come out to you?
Well, hey, perfect, amen.
How about that? Why don't you call me this week?
That doesn't mean mom's still going to come, though.
It doesn't matter. Just so you guys are aware, because if you are
we're aware.
going to serve that middle, please, just reach out. And if you need us to come out,
we'll get a date. Thank you.
Oh, all right. It's a date.
Thank you. Progress. I like it.
Thank you, Brenda.
Progress.
I appreciate it.
Good afternoon. Me and my wife, we represent Sunrise Baptist Church, and I want to say every time we call Miss Karen there, she goes above and beyond as far as helping our church. She's helped us. We had trouble with the garbage pickup, when they switched, being charged, not picking the garbage up. We secured land across the street. She was instrumental in getting us that property, which had all kind of liens against it and everything. So I just want to thank you, because you always go way above and beyond to help. You call back. Anytime you're out, you'll come. As soon as you get in, you call, and we appreciate you so much. And thank you. Thank you so much. Real quick, we're on Wilhelm Avenue. We're having people, we step out of the church, people are coming by 50 miles an hour. We like to have a speed bump and some stop signs. And we also had somebody come up and approach us in our church, wanting us to sign petitions to try to get rid of you and everybody. And they must have thought we just fell off the truck, to put us in position, much as you guys have done for us. So, but my question is, with the drug situation, how do you handle it? Marijuana, you guys never had to revive nobody from smoking marijuana. It's a waste of resources to mess with people with small amounts of marijuana. How do you guys handle it? I'm not for it. I don't smoke it, but it's such a bigger problem. Well, how do you guys handle marijuana to get people with, there's a lot of people with records in jail over minute. Now you got people getting revived one day, walking down the sidewalk, getting revived again. So how are you going to handle the marijuana problem?
We're pretty well locked in what the state law allows us to do. Now, there is a lot of movement afoot, I think you've seen the news. A lot of movement afoot to decriminalize the small amounts that you're talking about, move down to a summary violation, something like that. It hasn't happened yet. We've spoken to elected officials in Harrisburg, but right now the law is the law. We will process, make the arrest. Now, what the final disposition is, that's a different story. What happens at the local magistrate's office, what happens with the local district attorney, Steve Zappala. There's a lot of flexibility, and I personally agree with you.
You know, sometimes you have a young person who makes a mistake with a small amount of marijuana, and that tag follows them. I'm 66 years old, and it would still follow me. You know, so yeah, there's a lot of movement afoot to go, and I don't want to say really decriminalize it, but more so of let's change it from a felony, change it from the misdemeanor down to the summary, which is like a traffic citation, where you can ask for expungements. You can have a summary removed from your record. We just got the Pennsylvania Supreme Court in the last 2 years to agree that some of summary convictions should be eligible for expungement. We do it for DUIs, which are misdemeanors, but summaries for decades, a summary would stay on the record. So finally we got through to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, who writes these rules. The rules say, you know what, that makes a whole lot of sense. You know, somebody applies to the courts, say, hey, I had a summary conviction when I was 17 years old, 18 years old. I wanted it expunged. Now there's a means to do that. You know, so we're moving in the right direction. We're moving in the right direction. Right now, I'm bound by the laws that are written there, but there's a whole lot of movement afoot, and I think it's going to be better for law enforcement. It's going to be better for the society as a whole, you know, the end result. I think we'll be okay. Yeah.
Just to add something to that, now, you have a very important concern there, okay? We have a representative Courts, we have a representative Bush Garrick, we have a Senator Pam Iovino. So all I would suggest is that this group of churches get together, get a little committee together, and say, this is the number one and second most important issue. And then make an appointment to go see those folks and say, by the way, we have a church delegation of 150 people, 200, whatever it might be, 2,000, and we're all concerned about this one issue. What can you do to help us get this moved forward? And I think that's the way you'll get some success with it. So go see them, people.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on what Dave said. Well, first on being in touch with our office, there's been several times in just the few months that my boss has been in the Senate where we've had a meeting with a constituent and there was an issue that we weren't aware of at a state level, and either she's sponsored legislation or co-sponsored legislation. Many of those are around the criminal justice reform. I think now that there's been a lot of partnerships with chambers of commerces and law enforcement on the fact that you need to start decriminalizing some things, or just in the spring there was the clean slate law that was just passed, which I think after 10 years you then have that record, that criminal record taken off. And there's an issue because how can you expect someone to just come out of jail and not be able to get hired for a job, and then they have to pay fines and pay their court costs and pay any other kinds of restitution. So there's a good partnership with chambers of commerce and criminal justice advocates that you usually don't see very often, but those organizations are getting together because there's a workforce development problem here in Pennsylvania. So we need people to be able to access jobs and have good quality paying careers, and to do that we need to tackle some issues at the criminal justice level. So.
Just before, even the deadbeat dads that they take to court, they won't let them get a driver's license. You want to work.
Right.
They can't get to work if you won't get the license. Yeah. So some of the stuff to me doesn't.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you think we could just make some quick decisions or just some easier decisions to make just our community better.
Just as on a congressional level, Mr. Congressman Mike Doyle is right down the road on Hillcrest, easy to get to. And on a federal level, he might be able to help you with something if you have the group of churches saying, but this is so important, we have to do something about this.
Just as a quick follow-up to that question with the marijuana, you might be able to answer this for me. So have you guys been able to compare other states that made it legal and the impact that's had on, we'll talk about children, I guess, per se, maybe from the school perspective or the younger generation. Have you guys looked into that and the impact? And what can you share about that?
I'll say I don't want to speak for the senator on this. This just came, I think, 2 weeks ago, where the governor called for his support to legalize it. And I think that's something that Senator Iovino absolutely wants to see is how is this affecting other states? You know, yeah, they're getting a lot of money, but is that money then having to be spent on other social service systems, or how's it affecting children, like you said? And I think I just heard either it was Pennsylvania or Allegheny County, there was the first vaping death. And a lot of it is from counterfeit THC that, you know, children are vaping, and it's basically burning their lungs. So it is a very, very serious issue. I don't see, I think both the leaders in the House of Representatives immediately said they weren't interested in legalizing marijuana, and they're currently in control that chamber. So I don't see it happening in the near future, but
Okay.
Taking a look at those side effects and what that means for the rest of the Commonwealth is absolutely important.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. My question is for the township, or if there's a representative from Allegheny County. It's in regards to South Park, Seabolt Road and Brownsville Road, that intersection. It is quite a challenge to come out of Seabolt and make either a right turn or a left turn on Brownsville Road. If it would be possible, and I understand that studies need to happen, but I hate to see the quota of accidents to take place at that intersection before a light is installed. But it is quite a challenge to make either a right or a left from Seabolt on to Brownsville. And sometimes I would just go up over and come back down another way because it is such a challenge. So if someone could address the traffic patterns, and I'm excited about the growth in our township, but with that growth, there is a challenge for the drivers. Thank you.
Just to respond, something that's coming in the not-too-distant future that might just improve the sight distance. There's a home there, if you'll notice, on the right-hand side if you're coming from our municipal building. It's on the right-hand side. It's a frame house. Right there, the weed issue and whatever, that causes a lot of visual problems for drivers as well. The person who is developing, the developer for the Miro plan, the Summit Station plan, as you know it, he's gained control of that property through the Vacant Property Recovery Program. He's going to be demolishing that house and taking care of that property. So at least some of the weeds in that area, the township tries to mow it down just so to improve the sight distance, even though it's not our road and not our property. But at least if he's going to be taking that house and gaining control of it, he's going to be demolishing the home. He will be addressing the problem with the weeds as well. Even though that's not the entire fix, at least that's a partial fix that'll help increase the sight distance.
It's not the sight distance, because I can see the cars coming.
It's the speed.
It's the speed to which the traffic is moving, and, thank you. It's the speed to which the traffic is moving and the amount of traffic that's coming through there that, you know, you're playing chicken.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, if a study could be done, and that'd be great for the site to be taken care of, but the possibility of a traffic light.
Matt, could you address that with, because that's a county road, township road coming on the county road, right?
Well, that's why I asked for either township or county.
Right.
Right. That section of Brownsville Road, is the county's.
Yes.
Seabolt Road is ours, it's the township's. There's going to be a whole lot of moving parts, you know, with the Summit Station development, and just overall, the traffic in the South Hills is incredible anymore. I mean, when I was young and on patrol, you know, about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, you never saw another car until after 6 o'clock. Now it's traffic 24/7. There's going to be changes at 88 and Brownsville Road. Now, here's the thing with all these traffic studies, and I've done traffic studies for years. When you improve one intersection here, then that impacts this intersection here, that impacts this intersection here. It's a domino effect. Right now, there's going to be recent construction at Clifton and 88 in Bethel Park. It needs to be done. That's a PennDOT issue, that needs to be done. Then that's gonna impact the 88 in Brownsville corridor, which we are taking care of, the township is taking care of. And then that's going to hopefully relieve a lot of the congestion that we have on Brownsville Road. What we're gonna need to do is the intersection of Seabolt and Brownsville, and moving all the way down Brownsville to Brownsville and Piney Fork, we're gonna have to do a comprehensive traffic study to see where in the world the peak traffic flows are, which way, what time of day, the day of the week, and see what we need to do to go and relieve some of these things. That's not gonna happen tomorrow. You know, it's not gonna happen tomorrow, but that is part of the comprehensive plan of traffic improvement. We're all aware of it. Traffic is horrendous in this town and in Bethel Park and all of South Hills. That area corridor of Peters Township and all that's getting like Cranberry. And if any of us have gone out to Cranberry Township, you cannot move out there, the same thing. But with the county road, the township's input and PennDOT, we're gonna have to work towards relieving all these issues. And Seabolt is going to have to, I don't know whether traffic lights, I'm not an engineer, you know, an engineer would have to take a look at traffic volumes, all that, whether an actual traffic light is going to work. You know, other remedies may work. Reduction of the speed limit may have to happen. Increased traffic enforcement may have to happen. Things of that nature. The alignment of the road may have to happen. Maybe there's, you know, the alignment isn't right. So, but yeah, we're going to look at all those.
So am I correct that you are going to look at it, or you are?
Well, we're right in the process of looking at all the traffic issues right now. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. You got another question?
Yes, I have a question for the mayor of Bethel Park. What is being done about the sites of coyotes?
I'm sorry?
The coyotes, I seen one on my street, like at dusk. And down the street is the school, the Franklin School.
Mm-hmm.
So is anything being done about it?
We actually have, our animal control is controlled out of Mount Lebanon. I mean, we don't have our own in-house. If that happens, any type of, you know, coyote or fox or whatever, they're notified. But as far as I know, you know, and the chief might, you know better, from the police department standpoint, they'll take the calls and forward them on, but that would be about the extent of it. The problem is when they're reported and the animal control gets out there, they're nowhere in sight.
Yeah, long gone.
And that's usually what happens, because you can actually follow it on Facebook. Someone will say, I saw this, and then someone will say, well, I did too, and it was down the road a half a mile, quarter mile. But by the time that we get out there, the police go out to look at it or whatever, there's nothing in sight.
Oh, okay. And another question for the county, Allegheny. The turnabout on Grove Road, no one has cut the branches, so we've had the neighbors remove branches from the storm so we could go up and turn about to come back out. That's on Grove Road. We want to know why things hasn't been cut and back, like the bushes and things. On Grove Road. Yep, they're called the turnabout.
Yeah, that's a township road, that's not a county.
Oh, that's the township?
Yeah, it's all over there.
Okay, thank you.
Are you talking the end house?
Yeah, that house, you can't even see it.
Yes, we're looking at that, yes. Yes, we are.
What we're going to do, because there's no family members who are going.
Well-
That's part of, not my family, but we are cousins. I'm telling you, no one's going to come and claim it.
Well, I will tell you, coming up in October, and it'll be advertised in our local newspaper, the Park News, that's a duplex, okay? We cannot find the owners, so we have attempted to locate them, and we authorized a public hearing in October for each side because they're two separate residences. And we will see if anyone shows up to offer any input as to what they're going to do. Probably not. As you said, we can't reach them. So what the township does at that point, we determine if it's a public nuisance. The Board of Supervisors does. If it affects the health, safety, and welfare detrimentally to the residents of the community, which it is. At that point, the township, we feel that if it, in fact, it is a hazard, and we've deemed it to be so, the township takes the appropriate measures and secures the services of a contractor to demolish the home.
That's going to happen in October?
I don't know whether it'll happen in October or not. I think it'll happen this year because we typically budget for 2 homes every year. And we take it we look at that very seriously. It's not like we just go into a neighborhood and say, oh, we're going to take that house down because we'd like to. We have a structural engineer actually look at the property because there were homes that we felt affected the health, safety, and welfare of our residents. However, the structural engineer felt that they were structurally sound. So we felt that we did not have the right, really, to destroy a home that was structurally sound. I don't believe that home is going to be found to be structurally sound. So the township will expend the funds to demolish the home, make sure that the utilities are properly capped, the sewers, and then we will have the contractor restore the site, seed it and put hay down or whatever so that it grows. And then we do maintain the properties during the growing season. Now I have to tell you, we don't manicure them. We just maintain them. We knock the grass down to discourage animals and whatever from nesting there, but that's the intent.
We have a house like that on Oakwood as well, across from the church.
Well,
We know the family, but they're not responding. So our family, my brother and my sister, they keep it noted, but I would think the township should help us because it's going to be the rest of the county.
we have a number of homes, but we can only do so many per year. But as I said, we take a very serious look at this because it's not only, a threat to the children in the area, but it's also, there's feral cats and other animals, and some of them are structurally unsound. Typically, that's what we're looking for, the soundness of the property, and the structural engineer, for the most part, with the exception of one home, has determined they are structurally unsound.
Karen, is there
Situation.
any grants out there? We live in Allegheny County, but we're not treated the same as a lot of the people in Allegheny County.
Pardon me?
Is there any loans and grants out there to fix up these houses?
Sir, the township does not issue loans or grants to anyone.
I said Allegheny County.
I'm not certain. No, I do not know.
Well, anybody up there from the county?
There's a blight program, and I don't think it's to fix them up. I think it's to take them down. So there's money and grant programs to help remove the blighted.
Take them down and not help fix them up?
Well, that's a good question. I'm going to meet with the county executive this week. I'll ask him that question. Thank you.
Private owners have a right, and there's absentee owners that don't take care of their properties, okay? They live over here, they're gone, okay? Fortunately, the state law, they changed the law to say that if a person lives in Chicago, okay, and he owns property in South Park, now you can go after their personal assets, okay, to cover that, okay? But that law just passed probably last year, I guess. Okay, so for all these years, we've had all these blighted properties and absentee owners. These are all real estate people. They're going to take care of their properties, okay? We're invested in a business. We're going to do this, but they don't care. Okay, so somehow the laws have to be changed to make sure that these absentee owners take care of their stuff,
Okay, we got another question here.
I have a question for the chief.
Could you have the mic?
I live
She
right
didn't
up
want
here
it.
on Grove Road, and you know me, I'm Smith. Okay.
Yeah, hold it.
Now, we cleaned up the turnaround. I mean, that's no problem. It's our street. Everybody on our street are elderly people, and we're mostly all family, and we take care of each other. But it's becoming a problem when you have people that's buying their drugs and coming up and sitting in our turnaround to do their stuff. I don't agree with that. We used to have policemen who would come up at least twice a week, right up our street. If they come up our street, if everything was fine, my thumb went up like this to them. If everything was a little problem, my thumb went down, they would stop and ask me what the problem was, and they would oversee that problem for us or tell us how to deal with it. Now, I have a person that moved in on our street. I'm out hanging my clothes on the line, and my granddaughter comes over and she says, "Grammy, "What's that?" I said, "What's what?" I go, "Look, well, my little friend over there got a great big marijuana tree growing in the backyard." But yet and still, it's bad if the kids do drugs, but yet you have a grown adult building it right there in your backyard where she knows I have 8, 9 grandchildren. You know, something has to be done, and I don't want to mention her name because it probably would upset you, Chief, and that's why I'm not mentioning the name, because it hurt me when I found out that's the person that was planting the marijuana.
Is there a name or give me an address? I'll pay for this.
She's right there at 25, right next door to me.
Where the plant's at?
Where the plant is at. And the night they had the house surrounded up there, I can't believe that none of those officers standing there did not see the big plant.
Oh, they're focused on something else.
No, they weren't too focused because whoever they were looking for wasn't there at the time at all.
Ms. Smith, what would be the address?
It's what, 2507 is where my daughter used to own the house.
Okay.
It's 2507. Okay.
Okay, for the sake of time, we're going to take maybe 2 more questions.
Yeah, this is always bothering me. This is the time of year, especially with deer season. Deer is going to be crossing the road. You know, you go out to eat, and there's dead animals laying everywhere. I know, oh, it's just a state road, a county road. Can't everybody get together and say, we'll pick up the animal and we'll bill you. We'll bill the county. Oh, that's a state road. We're not. I've seen, especially in front of a restaurant, and there's dead animals. I'm just wondering, why can't the county get together with the townships and everybody and say, you know what, we'll pick up these animals and we'll bill you if it's a state road, a county road, but just get them off the road because it's disgusting.
We do pick up. If you see an animal along the road, call 412-831-7000, and then they'll send the animal control person out to dispose of that carcass. We do that.
And in fact, in Bethel Park, if there's a dead animal, doesn't make any difference if it's a county road, state road, our own road. We just call the police department, they get in touch with animal control, and they'll be out to pick it up.
Question?
I'm Walt Sikinski. I'm one of the supervisors of South Park. And I have maybe 2 comments. Just as a young lady just mentioned, we do need the support of the community and the churches to come forth, just like they said there was a drug problem up at the park. If you see something happening, please call our police department. They're not around every area every minute of the day, and they're maybe not aware of it. I mean, sometimes they hear rumors and whatever, but I think we need a stronger support from the community to give a call to the police and say, hey, it's a routine thing that's happening here at 6 o'clock at night. 6 people are up there exchanging drugs and money. That would be very appreciative, and it would help the community, but we do need the community support. The other comment was about Seabolt and Bronzeville. There is a light going to be put in coming out of the new Summit Station. That may have some positive effect to slow down traffic for a period of time so you can come out. We're hoping that's the case, but it does, just like the chief said, that may fix a problem there, but it may create more backups. And that's every time you put a traffic light, you satisfy some people. Other people get upset because they say they used to go right through there, now they have to wait for 5 or 10 minutes. But we're trying to accommodate everybody in the best way possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris? I do. It's really a quick one. Just to inform maybe the law enforcement in regards to motorcycle riding on Overhill, Highland, and Terrace. We have a lot of motorcycle riders who are riding full speed up the hill and they're popping wheelies. They're popping wheelies down Overhill, they're popping wheelies on Terrace, and coming down Highland. We have a lot of children playing. And when we call to say, we have some motorcycle riders or the dirt bike riders, they're gone by the time they come. So just to let you know that they're popping wheelies now.
Where do those dirt bike riders go to? Where do they end up at? If they come down Overhill, where do they go to?
They go, well, if you know Overhill, Highland, and Grant, it's a circle. So they keep on moving. They do, and then they move on. I don't know. I can't say that they're going through the woods, they are riding on the street. If they were in the woods, I wouldn't have a problem, because a long time ago, they used to ride on the slate dump, and that was no problem. Now they're not on the slate dump, and they're riding up and down our streets.
Okay, thank you all for your questions and your time. At this point, if you could give Shanna the microphone. Just want to kind of do a recap of what we've heard today and some takeaways and things we can look forward to hearing answers on.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Shanna Tharp Gilliam, and I am a proud member of the Gilliam family. And my mom and my stepfather are also in the back. I want to acknowledge them. So what I've been asked to do is basically listen, take notes, and then report out a synthesis of what I've heard today. So first off, the topics that residents brought up really spanned the scope of civic activity, from education, employment, property ownership, public safety, and also brought up different contexts such as technology, culture, legislation, the legal contexts, and what we heard today was the impact of those multiple contexts on individuals' lives. So, as far as a summary of next steps, one of the strategies in the work that I do, it focuses on how do we actually see change in systems? How do we see the types of cross-sectoral impacts that we're talking about today? And one of the strategies is to, first of all, identify the issue, and that's part of what I heard here today. Look to understand the issue. And in understanding the issue, we really need the multiple perspectives. Because with each issue that was raised today, the person speaking had his or her perspective, and then we also heard perspective from local, from county, from region, from school, from leadership at those levels, which gives a different lens as to why a particular response maybe hasn't happened, the timing on that response, and what we need to do in order to actually address the issue given that additional lens. So from the community perspective, continuing to identify the issues, but also documenting the issue. What I heard today was some of the folks on the panel were saying, well, when does that happen? Where does that happen? How often does it happen? What did you do when it happened? Did you call? Those are steps that also go into identifying the issue and understanding it more deeply. What I also heard was what types of efforts need to happen in order to organize around a particular issue. So part of organizing around an issue has to do with identifying who the people are who can actually make an impact. So we heard today, there was a recommendation that you contact Mike Doyle, contact the superintendent, speak with Wayne Gudovich. Thank you for that. The superintendent of the school, also the principal himself, and each of the people on the panel today said, call me, come by, reach out to me. So let's take them up on that. Mm-hmm. What we can do is let's first follow through on what they've told us to do, what they've instructed as the next steps to take, and then at the same time document that. So if it is that you reach out to their office, if you follow through on what they've asked you to do, and you don't see a change, document the fact that you've reached out, how you reached out, and then don't stop there, but reach out again. And then so when we come back into public forum again, we can, and it's not about, oh, you're wrong, I'm right, you're right, I'm wrong. It really has to do with, think about it in our own lives, what the other contexts are, what are things that are going on in our lives that really keep us from doing things that we know are important, that need to be done, but yet we don't do them. So I guess in the context of a church, I'm also asking you to think about, the log in our eye before we go after the speck in someone else's. At the same time, we do have to recognize that the reason why they're in the positions that they are is because they're public servants. They've been, they're paid by taxpayer dollars, elected and voted in by the will of the people. So they're also held at a higher standard. As far as perspective from public servants and what I heard today, are strategies that they can also do. I heard our fellow here was recognizing that why is it that when these issues come up, county and city and township are not communicating with each other so that they can come up with collective strategies and approaches to address some of these issues. And I urge you to also do that. I know that we're all very busy, and sometimes it's hard to take that extra step to call additional stakeholders and legislators and public figures into the conversation so that you can have a response that is more comprehensive. But one of your constituents here is urging you today to do that as well. One of the other issues I heard today was around policy and jurisdiction. So there are constraints to what we can do in our own personal lives. Like when we hear our neighbors next door to us are too loud, we can't go over in their house and turn their music down. It's a similar situation here when we have township versus county versus state regulations, authorities, and jurisdictions. At the same time, as community members, what we can do is go to the next proximal, the next closest public servant who is in relation with us, and then it becomes their responsibility to help us to identify who that person is we need to reach to, who, if the issue is outside of your jurisdiction, where should they go? So again, it all comes back to the first thing I said, was they've encouraged you to reach out to them. Let's do that. Let's follow up with them directly, and I also ask you, as we reach out to you, if it's not in your jurisdiction, the answer, well, that's not in our jurisdiction, is not the end of the sentence. It's more like a semicolon. There needs to be another step that adds to say, okay, you know what, this isn't part of my responsibility and role, but I hear you, I recognize the issue, I recognize that it's important to you, this is who you need to talk to. If they are not responsive to you, let me know. That was my summary from today.
Thank you.
That's what I mentioned. Don't forget, you got the House of Representatives, your legislators. You got 2 folks elected to represent South Park and over in Bethel, same thing. You have representatives. Okay, so those we have courts in Pushkarik in our township building. We offer them free space. They come up here one day a month, okay, to serve you. So if you have an issue, you can take it directly to them, okay? Now, if you call 412-831-7000, guess what? Karen, I know she would direct you to who you're supposed to go to, because that's what we do. We do that all the time. Now, as a church group, I was appointed to the Governor's Local Government Advisory Committee. So if you can put together the most important issue affecting your communities, okay, and get it to me. I gave you my email address. Get that to me, okay, I'll present that to the commission next time we meet. So keep that in mind. So if you can pick them up with, don't give me 50 issues, just give me one of the most important issues that's affecting you. And I'll take it forward and see if we can do anything about it. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let's give the panelists a hand. Thank you. Again, I think the first step in any progress starts with communication. So we did that today. I know there was a lot of concerns voiced, and they listened and gave you some feedback. And so I think it was a good first step, but we have to continue the process. It's just the beginning. So I thank you all for your time, and I thank you as well for your time. So as we close up, I'm going to ask my brother and Pastor Hughes to close us out in prayer for today.
Let us pray. Gracious God, our Father, we thank you for this day to come together as community. We first thank you, God, for this church, this great church who's opened their doors to hear our voices. And so, Father, as we thank this panel, as we heard of elected, paid officials, we ask that you would guide them in their decisions, in their thinking. We thank you for their willingness to come and hear our concerns, and we thank you that they are concerned. And we thank you that we can talk with them and they can talk with us. And so, God, we are all under your headship, really. And so, God, we're asking for more unity, more commitment to keep these discussions going so that we can exercise our God-given right to live in fellowship and peace. Help our children in this community. We thank you for all of the nonprofits who work with the children. Cover our school system, cover their principals and teachers, and may they work with excellence with our children, who really is our future. And so, God, until we meet again, may the love of God, the grace and power of Jesus, our King in Christ, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with each of us until we meet again in this type of environment. In Jesus' name, protect us all. Amen.
Amen, amen. So thank you all for coming. We'll let you know when the next forum is set up. Thanks.
Thank you.